Hey, you guys. Um, just want to chat briefly tonight about a topic that is in some ways difficult to talk about. And the topic is humility. Um, humility. What do we know about humility? Really, you know, um, it's a it's a bit of a tough one. So tonight at my men's group, um, the question came up. There was about 10 or 12 of us, and we went around the circle, and we asked, what does humility mean to you? And then we asked, the question was, an example of when when you feel that, you displayed humility, or that you experienced humility. And a lot of people understood humiliation, and and uh, um, and but the term humility, generally came down to admitting or accepting that we didn't know. What do we know for sure? No, and I mean, as I've gotten older and more experienced in life, I recognize that I don't know, and my thinking that I know gets me in trouble, and often in the daily practices of life, or as things are unfolding, ego tells me it should be this way or it should be that. And now I see, I mean, sometimes I still get caught and make decisions or jump ahead of the game, if you will. And I don't have the humility to wait as things unfold, and to just to pause and just wait as things unfold. Still sometimes my ego says, yeah, but it should be this way. And I make a decision, or and to try to get things to go the way I think they should go. And so when that happens for me, I'm guilty of somewhat of arrogance, trying to get my way. And so um, it's interesting. Sometimes I get comments, from these talks, and and the comments are entertaining because often they're from people who are certain that they know all about recovery, and they know all about, the problems related to the disease of alcoholism or addiction, and I don't know. I don't claim that. I know what worked for me. I know what is seemed to be working for many tens of thousands of others, but I really don't have the definitive word on it. I'm just, I mean, I recognize that the people who recover in the 12-step world um, discover a power, whether that's power is love, however they define that power, but it is a power greater than them. And it requires humility, that's my experience, to access that power. It requires humility to access that power. And so it's a big deal. Humility is a big deal. And how do we get that? Well, we have to discover who we are, and what when we're acting in arrogance or in certainty, um, and and it doesn't work for us, then we recognize eventually we're humbled. I have a saying that an ounce of humility, an ounce of humility will prevent a ton of humiliation. And because for the alcoholic and the addict, they survive their bouts, are often very humiliated. When they wake up in remorse, guilt, and shame from the actions that that have happened when they're on their sprees. So an ounce of humility can, you know, really outweighs it, or prevent a ton of humiliation. But a ton of humiliation sometimes brings humility. Yes, we get humble after we've been humiliated. And I don't mean that others humiliate us, we humiliate ourselves. So, but it does bring, us into humility. So that's my little chat about humility and humiliation, all of that. I'm going to read tonight from the Tao Te Ching again, and just a short talk tonight. Just wanted to mention that June the 10th, which was just a couple of hours ago, we just finished that June the 10th. What time is it? It's a little after 1 here. And June the 10th was 86 years since the beginning of the 12 steps, since, the first two guys got sober, which was Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob. And June the 10th, 86 years ago. And which is just a spit in the bucket in time, and when we see that before that there really wasn't anything for the addict and the alcoholic, and what's happened is I believe around 200 different programs have come out of that use the 12 steps. So thousands. I can only name a few, Emotions Anonymous and Gamblers Anonymous and Cocaine Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous and Sex Anonymous and there's just Overeaters Anonymous. I can only name a few, but I know there's a ton of them, and they're kind of all approved by the original 12-step central office. Gives them they can use the 12 steps, and so millions and millions and millions of people around the world are using the 12 steps to overcome their seemed addiction, and what comes in that first step, because the first step is that we admitted we were powerless over whatever it was that was our addiction, our drug of choice, whether it be gambling or there's Workaholics Anonymous. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. So, and to admit that we're powerless is an amazing thing. I mean, that's humility, that we admitted we were powerless. We were beaten by whatever it was. And then that we came to believe, that our life, we realized that our life was unmanageable and that we couldn't run our own show. And that our thinking was skewed, and we couldn't trust our thinking. That's humility. When we wake up to, oh my God, I can't trust my thinking, and that's the first step. Powerless over whatever addiction was, and that our life had become unmanageable. And it isn't unmanageable because we drank or used. We already our thinking was skewed, and Carl Jung helped us to see that we had a spiritual malady, and we needed to find a power greater than ourselves, and it doesn't, not to be associated with any religion. You call it God if you want, but it isn't about a particular religion. It doesn't exclude any religion or say that if you have a faith that you can that's related to a religion, that's fine. But Bill Wilson had the humility to understand that he couldn't have a doctrine that prescribed any particular higher power. He had to leave that totally open and totally inclusive, and that whatever people believed was their power, that whatever we could relate to at the time. And for everybody that I know, and I know hundreds and hundreds of people who have got their lives back and got recovery, that power, that it evolves. Whatever it is that they came to believe is their power greater than themselves evolves. So anyway, and that it requires humility, even for the evolution of that. So humility is something that we don't hang on to, but it's as long as we have it, we're more likely to stay sober. All right, we're on in the Tao Te Ching. I love reading this book to you guys. Stephen Mitchell's translation, chapter 28, which is very short. Like, they're all very short. This is 4 paragraphs. It starts here, chapter 28. Get this book, by the way, it's amazing. Know the male, yet keep to the female. Receive the world in your arms. If you receive the world, the Tao will never leave you. You will be like a little child. I'm going to read that again. Know the male, comma, yet keep to the female. Receive the world in your arms. If you receive the world, the Tao will never leave you, and you will be like a little child. Second paragraph. Know the white, yet keep to the black. Be a pattern for the world. If you're a pattern for the world, the Tao will be strong inside you, and there will be nothing you can't do. Know the personal, yet keep to the impersonal. Accept the world as it is. If you accept the world, the Tao will be luminous inside you, and you will return to your primal self. The world is formed from the void, like utensils from a block of wood. The master knows the utensils, yet keeps to the block. Thus, she can use all things. Beautiful. Chapter 28. That's so good. And in the back, Stephen Mitchell wrote a little piece about each chapter, his interpretation. In chapter 28, he only wrote 3 lines. Know the male, yet keep to the female. Keeping to the respective allows the creative to arise. Keeping to the receptive allows the creative to arise. Actually, the creative and the receptive are complementary sides of the same process. Actually, the creative and the receptive are complementary sides of the same process. I love this book. This is so good. Lao-tzu's The Tao Te Ching. Okay, guys, love you so much. If you happen to be watching this on YouTube, when I publish it on YouTube, love it if you subscribe. I'm having some fun with that, letting that grow. And if ever you have a question, leave it here, but in the comments, or if you have an answer to some of these questions that I answered, I'd love to hear from you, or I asked, I'd love to hear from you. And yeah, if you really want to talk, let me know, and I'll give you my number and we'll chat. Okay, love you so much. Good night.